Welcome back. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is get ready to add color to our mandala, because at this point yours should look something like this. It should be fully inked, so I've inked over all of the pencil lines, and on mine I used the black Jelly Roll pen to do all of the inking. Other than when I drew the circles were drawn using a Pigma Micron pen, but everything else on this has been done with the black Jelly Roll pen. Then I used my white eraser, so this is just a stick eraser, and I went over all the pencil lines with that stick eraser and got rid of them. So that's where you want to be. Now, one thing I didn't show you earlier in the previous video was that I did add some circles inside each of these little scallops out here. Now, you could do that to every scallop if you wanted to, or just the ones out here around the outside edge. It's totally up to you. But I did want to show you that I added those as well. Now, remember there was, when we were very first doing the circles on the original design, and I was drawing the circles inside the petals, and I had some real messed up places in here when I was doing that. I wanted to show you how I fixed that. I just went in with a pen and I just simply used those places where my pen slipped and turned them into an idea for a shape within the mandala. So nothing, unless it's really a bad mistake, nothing can go to waste. You don't have to throw away something just because your pen slipped. So I did want to show you that. So you can see there's some other little areas out here, like right in here and over here, where my pen kind of slipped a little bit, and again over in here. Same thing, I'll just use those as opportunities for creating a different design. So don't throw them away just because you had a little slip of the pen. All right, so let's go back to this one. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add color. Now, the way that I am going to add color to this one, there's a million different ways to add color to your mandalas. At least a million, maybe 2 million. But what I'm going to use are the Pitt Artist pens. And the ones that I have 2 different kinds of the Pitt Artist pens. These are the brush style pens. And these are the big brush pens. These are the big boys. They also come in a smaller container, and it's a smaller brush. So less ink, smaller brush, more ink, bigger brush, fatter pen. But they're the same colors of ink, and these are India ink pens, and they're when they dry, they are permanent. So I'm going to be working with the big brush pens just because I can go a little bit quicker. And I'm going to start in the center with my designs right in the middle. So this is, I'll tell you the colors as I go. This is Manganese Violet. It's number 160. And I'm just going to fill this in. And again, you know, you may make a little boo-boo here and there, but work consciously and keep breathing. It takes very little pressure when you're working with these pens, these big brush pens. But I love them because the colors are so intense and beautiful. And because you're working with a big brush tip, you can cover a lot of territory quite quickly. Now, you could use other kinds of pens, other brands. Doesn't have to be this brand by any means. This is just the brand that I really particularly like. Now, it's going to take that a minute for that ink to dry in there, so I'm going to skip this section. I'm going to move out to this one. And I'm going to use this color, which is light green, number 171. And I'm going to come right out here. And I'm going to color around that circle. Now if I get green in there, I'm not going to worry about it too much because I'll probably just fill that in with another color of green, maybe a darker green. And then I'm just going to work around the circle, so I'll just kind of tiptoe around that little circle there. And when I get into these, shapes that are a little bit bigger, I usually go around the outside edge and then fill in. But you can see that nothing is moving. The black pen lines are not moving. They are staying put, which is exactly what we expect to have happen, and more than that, that's what we want to have happen. Don't want those reactivating and moving around on us. So you're just going to spend whatever time it takes to color in all the shapes. And when I do this, I'm picking a color, and then just like I drew a shape and repeated it around the circle, I do the same thing when I'm coloring. I decide what I'm going to color for one shape, and I do that all the way around the circle or all the way around the mandala. The big brush pens and the Pitt artist pens come in a wide variety of colors. They are a wonderful selection of colors. I'm just going to add a darker green dot in here in those circles. And this one happens to be May Green number 170. And then by this point the purple is dry, so I'm going to come in here with magenta, I believe this is. Pink Matter Lake, number 129. And I'm going to fill in the section around the center motif. So I'm just going to get you started on this, and then I'm going to let you just spend your time coloring your mandala the way you want to color it. And then we're going to come back, once we get that accomplished, then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how to put the frosting on the mandalas. That's what I call it. In the real world of drawing mandalas, of course, no one talks about putting frosting on their mandalas. That's just my term for adding the embellishment, the fun stuff that I love to add on top of the color. And I do that with pens. You can use all different kinds of pens. I particularly like the gel pens. And I really love white and black to embellish the mandalas. But of course you can use colored gel pens as well. But for this one we're going to use white and black. So you can see as you start adding the color, the sections start popping out, and any mistakes, quote unquote mistakes, that you might have perceived before when you were doing your inking, they just kind of melt away. You just don't really see them now. So I repeat that color all the way around. And you really need to have your pencil lines erased at this point, because at this point, if you see pencil lines, stop and erase them, because once this ink goes over the top of them, you're not going to get them erased at all. You're going to have to go in and just use it as a design opportunity and do something else on top of it, because they're not going anywhere. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to use a dark turquoise. And I'm going to come out here and I'm going to add this color. Around that green just because I think it's pretty. And this color is light cobalt turquoise number 154 if you want to know. Looks like this one is starting to get kind of dry on me. Indeed it is. Let's see if I have another one of these in the smaller pen. No, I don't think I do. All right. Well, let's see if we can encourage it. This is one of my favorite colors too. So I'm going to have to replace this one. Looks like I'm going to have to come back over the top of this with another color. Let's see if I've got another turquoise, maybe. This is cobalt green. Let's switch to this one, and then I'll just go over the other ones. Because when your pen runs out of ink, there's just not much you can do about it. Not much you can do. So we'll just go back over those original colors, the original shapes with this color. Now, if you are working in small sections like this one that I'm in right here, this is where it's handy to have the smaller pens, the smaller brush pens, and the pit pens as well. So it's nice. It's a luxury, but it's nice if you have both, the big brush and the smaller ones, because the smaller ones really do fit nicely into the smaller shapes. So what I'll do is I'll just come back over the top of these that where I was running out of ink. I didn't realize that pen was quite so dry. Like I said, that's one of my favorite colors, so I'm going to have to replace that one. But you can see you can just layer right over the top. So, easy to do. And I love the fact that these pens, when they're dry, now they do need to be dry, but when they will not move on you. So you can come over the top like I just did with another color, and what was underneath wasn't going to move on me. Okay, so let's see what else we want to do. Let's go to this section out in here, and let's see about this color, which is scarlet red. So let's use a scarlet red just because it's fun, just because we can. So I'm going to go around that circle. So I'm going to outline the shape and then color it in. Sometimes I pick specific color schemes, like I'm going to stay in the cool colors, I'm going to stay in the warm colors, and sometimes, like this one, I'm just using all the colors I like. Just whatever I decided to use, I picked up and pulled out the pens, the colors that I like, and I'm just going to use them and add the colors the way I want. But I do find it very helpful if I work my way circle by circle, layer by layer around the mandala, rather than like when we drew, I drew all the shapes inside a petal just to show you how some of those designs might look. I would not add the color all the way through a petal. And the reason is because by the time I get to the next petal, I might forget exactly which colors I used, because some of these colors look pretty similar to each other. And if you want your mandala to be symmetrical with, you know, the colors going all the way around the mandala, then you really need to work in the same shape, in the same ring, all the way around. That way you don't confuse yourself. Let's see how pretty that's looking. And for the most part, these blend pretty well, meaning that you don't get a lot of overlap strokes. But by the time we do the embellishment on this, add the frosting, you won't see it anyway. All right, so that's what your next step is. So I'll tell you the rest of the colors. I'll tell you all the colors that I plan to use. Unless I change my mind, I'll tell you all the colors I'm going to use. This one is Scarlet Red, number 118. This was Manganese Violet, 160. This is Deep Scarlet Red, 219. This one is Sky Blue, 146. This is Pink Madder Lake, 129. This one is Cadmium Yellow, 107. This is May Green, number 170. This is Orange Glaze, 113. This one is Light Green, 171. And this one, because the one I really wanted to use was Light Cobalt Turquoise, 154, but it's dry, so we're not using that. Instead, I'm going to substitute Cobalt Green, 156. So those are the colors that I intend to use to finish coloring in this mandala. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to color it in. I'll come back and we'll put on the frosting. So I'll see you in a little bit.